Now elected as an anti-graft and reformist candidate in the wake of Jammeh's 22 years of misrule and stealing of state money, critics say Barrow has instead surrounded himself with corrupt figures, many of whom were cheerleaders for the kleptocrat he replaced. Almost a year after the National Audit Office found that the government spent millions of dollars from COVID relief funds without due process and proper justifications, another damning audit report on the $20 airport levy paid to an American security agency has concluded that the Office of the President consummated the entire contract without involving key stakeholders. This, according to the report, raises a lot of suspicion of impropriety and corruption. The NAO has therefore called on the Office of the President urgently to consult with the Ministry of Justice as well as the Public-Private Partnership Directorate to ensure that the interest of the Gambian people who are averse to the levy is protected. The report has been out for some time, but has only now been picked up by the media. Mr. Amadou Sanneh was the first finance minister to serve under Barrow's presidency. From finance at the beginning of 2017, he was later moved to the Ministry of Trade and lost his place in government when things went sour between the UDP and its former protege. The UDP treasurer has seen the audit report, and as the owner of a private accounting and auditing firm, Mr. Sanneh joins me now on Coffee Time to discuss the new National Audit Report. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Sanneh.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
What strikes you most about the findings and recommendations of this 113-page audit report on the contract to secure report for the provision of security services at Banjul International Airport?
Actually, this report comes out very plain. It's very damning, and all the hallmarks of a cooked-up contract at the Office of the President, disregarding all the rules of procurement, all the institutions that are supposed to play their part, like the Justice Ministry. They disregarded their advice. The Director of Public-Private Partnership at Ministry of Finance, where we had staff who were trained in public-private partnership matters under the French Development Agency. They brought in experts on signing contracts and how to secure the Gambia's interest in dealing with these private sector firms. The President's office completely disregarded that institution. It also extended the contract from 5 years to 15 years, which means it's lucrative to some people, but certainly not to the Gambia, not to the traveling public. So you look at all these conditions, disregarding all the institutional setups, all the financial regulations, procurement regulations, and what has OP got to do to sign something of this nature? You have the relevant agencies and institutions who should be signatories and stakeholders who should evaluate this. They did not do any technical and financial evaluation of this proposal. So it all shows that the entire thing was cooked up at the Office of the President and then imposed on the Gambia by the Office of the President. This is a very striking case, and I think it has similarity with the termination fees of Gamtel, MGI, where we had so much trouble to disengage ourselves at the beginning of this government, 2017, around that time.
Mr. Sanneh, while the report doesn't explicitly accuse the Office of the President of corruption, does this smell to you like a clear-cut case of graft, involving citizen number one?
I think everything points out to very serious corruption in the office of the president. It doesn't matter whether he is signatory to it or not. All the buck stops at his office. It's in his office. That office is run under his direction. He is entirely responsible for this mess up and this defrauding of the Gambian people. If you see that the government had to pay $164 million to secure report. They say for areas of revenue for a contract that has not been implemented yet. They say because of non-enforcement of security fees.
He doesn't always address, issues in his national addresses. But on Sunday, President Barrow managed to mention corruption in passing as he opened the 2023 legal year. These were his words. To effectively fight corruption, the new procurement legislation will complement the anti-corruption law, which is currently before the National Assembly. Do you think he's serious about fighting corruption?
There is no seriousness in it. Gambians should know now that he will read statements written by technocrats, beautiful policy statements and words, but the facts are that in reality, they are corrupt. It's a corrupt government, and they will not deliver. They have promised so many things, and none of it has gone. We are without a revised constitution. The Public Order Act is still in place. The electoral reforms. And you have the anti-corruption bill. All these things, so many, and the fact that corruption it's like rolling from one area to the other, including central bank, and the allegations of recycling currencies, but we have not seen any final outcome of this.
Aside from the action points contained in the audit report, what else would you like to see, being done about this matter, especially with regard to the National Assembly?
The National Assembly, I will first acknowledge that they have the majority with their coalition partners, but they're all in the same boat in this corruption scheme. I would have said, having broken all the rules and regulations in the administration, the Finance Act, National Assembly, the least they can do for the Gambian people is to go after him and impeach him. The loss of $164 million is not chicken change for a poor man struggling. Everybody's crying for the cost of living, the skyrocketing of prices, and, the poor service deliveries at the health sector, the agri sector. So they should go after this and not just let this thing lie down like that.
Time, unfortunately, Mr. Sanneh, is not on our side. So in conclusion, please, is there any lesson to be learned from this controversy?
The lessons are that they will always give excuses. But when you break the rules, there should be repercussion. There shouldn't be impunity, especially if it is at the office of the president. So the National Assembly, whether his the president's allies and the other parties will support him, I think they should go after him and impeach him. They should. It seems everything we just take lying down, or as if it will just pass. Our country will go down the drain, and we need to really take up action and say this is not acceptable to the country. This is messing up the country's resources. It's foul play, it's corruption, and people should get up and take action. In what form? I think that's left to us. If it's going to be strikes all over, from the civil servants to the teachers to the doctors, everybody, we have to take action to say, look, enough is enough. We don't want this corruption to continue. This corrupt government is really killing this country's economy.
Mr. Sanneh, thanks again for your time on the program this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
And that was Amadou Sanneh, Treasurer, UDP, and former Finance and Trade Minister under the government of President Barrow.